I remember until today what it was like to live with Berenice in the same house. She was life. She liked to play in the countryside and talk to everyone. Me, the opposite. I was isolated. I hate to leave home and be exposed. But in one day everything changed. Berenice became very ill, and that girl who was once life was now rapidly atrophied. Now we were two dark strangers who loved each other. In the house, there was a day that would change my way of seeing her. On the eve of the wedding, she visited me in the library. She said nothing, just smiled at me. I couldn't look at anything else than her beautiful and shining smile. I wanted it for me. I spent hours imagining those teeth. Those thoughts weren't enough. I needed to have them in my hands. My head projected such sober ways of possessing them, but they all involved hurt and Berenice. As crazy as that was, I didn't want to hurt her. If there was another way to get those shiny teeth, it would be so wonderful and. No! I have to resist. But the craving didn't go away for the next 2 days. I didn't think about anything but those teeth. Berenice wouldn't be safe with me around. The next morning, I left the house that sheltered death and life. I went to a property to the north, and there I challenged the darkness that I had in those teeth. One day, I received a letter in which I reported the death of Berenice. So I returned to the house where we grew up together, that we saw Berenice's joy become a mere memory. Thoughts, so sordid and sober, consumed my days. Every second I found myself thinking about Berenice's teeth. These thoughts dominated my nights and infiltrated my dreams, until one day they guided me to Berenice's room. I realized, when looking at the equipment that belonged to the family doctor, that would be perfect for extracting teeth, so I approached Berenice. When I bent down to extract the first tooth, she woke up and screamed. The doctor and the butler came and took me out of the room. The next day, I was in a psychiatric clinic. After that, I can't say how much time passed. Maybe a month or two. I never had the notion of time. But in that white room that reminded me of Berenice's teeth, I got lost in the thought when I realized it was night or day. It was a gray, cold, and rainy morning when the doctor came to see and announced Berenice's death. It was that the weather conspired to bring me news. Finally, the doctor realized me to go to the funeral to say goodbye to my love. Madness consumed me and took over my days. I was a hostage of my own madness. I couldn't look into Berenice's eyes or face, only her teeth stole my attention, and that was it for long days. Those wonderful teeth stretched out in the air in the library. When I saw on the fifth shelf was the 10th book from the left, The Dental Anatomy of John Thompson. I was almost floating on the floor. That book called to me, and I could almost actually hear something beyond my imagination when I approached it that came from the shelf that fell on top of me at the moment. I fainted. I woke up in my bed, and I heard the butler and the doctor worried. I asked what they were doing and what was bothering them. The doctor came and told me that I had an accident 2 days ago. He also told me that Berenice died the night before and that the house was prepared for the funeral. I didn't stay long at the wake. The deadly atmosphere gave me goosebumps. I was sure I saw my beloved fingers move. Could it be that my head played a trick on me? I think deep down in my soul I wanted it to be true. I spent the little time I was at the wake watching Berenice's teeth, and now that she was dead, a voice said she'd pull out Berenice's teeth, because the body would decompose and I would have nothing left of her. But only your teeth would have something more. Your teeth would remind me of your joy before your illness. Finally, the instant voice won out. I was going to pull Berenice's teeth. I left the library with a box. I went towards the tomb, but when I started to dig, I heard a noise. They were screams, but I was so concentrated in the teeth, I didn't mind. But the closer I got to the coffin, the louder the screams got. Finally, I took the coffin off the grave, and when I opened it, Berenice had her eyes open. I couldn't believe she was alive. Then she smiled at me, and at the moment I had to fight with all my strength not to do what my mind wanted. I found myself sitting in the library and again sitting there alone. It seemed that I had no leaf awaked from a confused, exciting dream. I knew that it was now midnight, and I was well aware that since the setting of the sun Berenice had been interred. I had no definite comprehension, yet its memories was replete of horror. I started to hear a voice, a woman's voice, coming from the door of the library. I had done a deed. What was it? I asked myself the question aloud, and the whispery echoes of the chamber answered me. What was it? On the table beside me burned a lamp, and near it lay a little box. It was the property of the family doctor, but how came it here? And my eyes at length dropped at the open pages of a book, and to a sentence underscored Turan. The words were the singular but simple ones of the poet Ibn Zaid. I slept and woke up with the butler noticing me about my hands. They were all over in blood. But this, but what happened? What did I make? When I was standing with the nervous I was facing, the box felt and opened, and all the recognizable teeth of Berenice was there. Now I am in prison, awaiting trial. Funny that it was not Berenice's disease that killed her, it was mine. It has been a few days since I'm here. I'm no longer think about the thief, but my mind was dominated by the ghost of Berenice. I dream of the moment in the library when she smiled and my obsession began. But now she is toothless and dirty with blood. When I wake up, I wait, she never says anything, just looks at me. I have no more notion of what is real or not. I think the guilt is consuming me. I need to end this. Today, I will meet with my beloved. The sheet and the prison bars will redeem me for my guilt and free my soul. I found myself sitting in the library and again sitting there alone. It seemed that I had newly awaked from a confused, exciting dream. I knew that it was now midnight, and I was well aware that since the setting of the sun Berenice had been interred. I had no definite comprehension, yet its memories was replete of horror. I started to hear a voice, a woman's voice, coming from the door of the library. I had done a deed. What was it? I asked myself the question aloud, and the whispery echoes of the chamber answered me. What was it? On the table beside me burned a lamp, and near it lay a little box. It was the property of the family doctor, but how came it here? And my eyes at length dropped at the open pages of a book, and to a sentence underscored Turan. The words were the singular but simple ones of the poet Ibn Zaid. I slept and woke up with the butler noticing me about my hands. They were all over in blood. But this, but what happened? What did I make? When I was standing with the nerves I was facing, the box felt and opened, and all the recognizable teeth of Berenice was there. In an instant I woke up. It couldn't all be a dream. The doctor came to me and said I had an accident in the library and I was away for a while. Berenice was alive. But what if I hurt her? What if I weren't real? And to escape my guilt, I dreamed that my cousin is alive. Is this the most important trap in my mind? Was it real?